Pressure, including from the public, being properly applied may result in that Matt Gaetz report being released one way or the other from the House Ethics Committee. Although they did vote to scrap their meeting today to avoid and get past the weekend, I believe on the other side, with the pressure that's being applied by Republicans in the Senate and others, as a counterbalance to the Speaker of the House saying that that report should never see the light of day, we're going to get our hands on that report, and it's going to scuttle, I believe, Matt Gaetz's confirmation as Attorney General of the United States. You're on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. I'm Michael Popok reporting at the intersection. This is an updating, and fast-moving story. I'll try to keep you in the loop at all times. Now it looks like this was all a setup, that the way that the House Ethics Committee operates, it's the only committee really in Congress that is equally Democrat and Republican, except it's chaired by a Republican. And they were about to release this report after 2 full years. Matt Gaetz must have been told by the Republicans that that report was devastating towards him and would make findings against him about sex trafficking, underage rape, and use of illegal drugs, and even maybe potentially bribery. Having leaked that information to him, this is my working theory, which fits, the chairman of that committee, Mr. Michael Gaetz, he then said publicly they're planning to release the report today on Friday unless Matt Gaetz resigned. A day later, Matt Gaetz resigned, thinking that that would do it. Now, there are at least 2 precedents in the past in which the Ethics Committee did release the report, even though the House member had resigned or left the House. 2 different ones, in 1987 and in 1990. So there is precedent for this, and we have extraordinary precedent because the person with whom the report is focused is nominated to be the chief legal officer of the United States. Now, you see how everybody's being arrayed to try to protect and ring fence Matt Gaetz, because they all know that that is a terrible report against him and probably indicates criminal conduct and behavior, including what I said before, sex trafficking in girls. So Mike Johnson, now running interference as the Speaker of the House, is saying he has no power to do this, by the way, he's going to order or strongly suggest, at least to the Republicans on the Ethics Committee, that that report never see the light of day. Now, to sort of take cover and get out from the fire, that committee canceled its meeting today. That's sort of the part of the new news. They're going to it's a fluid situation, as one of the members said. They need a couple of days to kind of get counsel on this and figure out what they're going to do. In the meantime, Senate Republicans, not Democrats, including those on the Judiciary Committee, are calling for the report, and that they'll subpoena it one way or the other, that it should go to the Judiciary Committee of the Senate in the new Congress when it's time for confirmation, and should be fully vetted. So this looks like an orchestrated plan by Donald Trump to try to help out Matt Gaetz. He probably never thought Matt Gaetz would ever get confirmed as Attorney General, but he was going to give him some cover, let him resign, which is what the signal from the Republican chairperson of the committee is. Resign and we won't release the report. Day later, Matt Gaetz resigns to give him some cover and some political viability. Donald Trump says, I'll make you the Attorney General, but you're really not going to make it. And if you don't make it, I'll put you somewhere else in my cabinet, or I'll put you somewhere else that doesn't have to be confirmed by the Senate. And in the meantime, Todd Blanche, who was Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer in the last couple of years, he's the Deputy Attorney General nominee. He'll step into Attorney General. So that'll be the one-two punch there for all of these crazy, wacko jokers that are being dealt out of the deck for these cabinet positions. So you've got a conspiracy, it looks like, between Michael Gaetz, the chairman of the House Ethics Committee, signaling by telling Gaetz what the report says when he's not supposed to, telling him to get out of Dodge and resign. Gaetz resigns. Donald Trump gives him cover by making him the nominee for the Attorney General position, knowing he'll never get it. The Republicans then are arrayed against Gaetz. Senator Cornyn, who just barely lost to be the Senate Majority Leader, he said he demands the report. Senator Tammy Baldwin demands the report. So does Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski. So when all of the Senate sort of moves in lockstep, or a good number of them, a gang of 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, a lot of things happen. So if Matt Gaetz thought he was going to bury the report is now on everybody's mind, and it has been for several days. And we're all properly assuming that it is devastating against Matt Gaetz. And he hoped it would never see the light of day, that it would be buried in some concrete bunker somewhere, and we'd never know about it. Forget it. It's going to come out one way or the other. The minority on the Senate Judiciary Committee is going to filibuster until it's released. There's all sorts of things that we can do. There's all sorts of things that the House members can do, even on the Democratic side, to tie up appropriations. Don't vote on the debt ceiling. Don't vote on anything to keep the government alive until the Matt Gaetz report is released and or Matt Gaetz is withdrawn as a candidate. Even if he's now withdrawn by Donald Trump, who with Susie Wiles and his transition team might be thinking better of this nomination and of the flack it's getting, even if he did it now over the weekend, and I report to you Matt Gaetz has been pulled or has pulled his name from consideration, it's not going to stop the bleeding. It's not going to stop the release of the report. We knew what this report said because there was a case involving Joel Greenberg, who was Matt Gaetz's wingman, who's serving 9 years in prison for trafficking in underage girls, and raping them and using illicit drugs. Well, there ended up being a lawsuit involving a Florida lobbyist who got sort of sucked into this whole thing because apparently he was present when some underage girls were at a party with Matt Gaetz and Joel Greenberg, and then sued to clear his name in a little reported case in federal court down in Florida, which we reported on Legal AF. And I saw the allegations in there about Matt Gaetz being at the party with illicit drugs and underage girls. This has been out there for quite some time. The Department of Justice under Joe Biden, I don't know why they dropped the criminal investigation against Matt Gaetz. I don't know if it was the political heat that they were taking and the fact that the government was collapsing left and right at the House, but they decided to drop, Merrick Garland decided to drop that case against Matt Gaetz. The rumor at the time was that even though they had Joel Greenberg ready, willing, and able to testify against Matt Gaetz, that they had some issues with the girl, now a woman, and her story and some of her testimony. But she's given a sworn statement under oath that when she was a child, she was given drugs and raped by Matt Gaetz. I'm doing a lot of hot takes now about looks like an unbroken string of presidential nominees by Trump that have sex crimes in their background somehow, because Trump's the chief molester or rapist in chief. Now we got this one. So I got news from Matt Gaetz. That report with public pressure and the Senate Republicans now opposed is going to come out. I don't know what the thought process was there. I don't know if there was a thought process there about trying to give him cover so it didn't come out. And Chairman Guest of the Ethics Committee, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're the chairman of an ethics committee that you likely leaked the report to Matt Gaetz and then signaled to him that he should resign, and then he did it, thinking that would be it. The American people wouldn't rebel. I know Donald Trump doesn't think much of the American people. He thinks that they're suckers, that they voted for him, and now he's giving them, his supporters, and everybody else a big middle finger related to the picks that he's making, these ludicrous, ridiculous, farcical. If it wasn't such a tragedy, it would be a farce. In these major nominees, And where are the women, by the way? The only nominee he's made for a cabinet position for a woman is the person that's going to be the head of his national intelligence office, which is Tulsi Gabbard, who's not qualified. And she's not really going to be in charge. That's a ceremonial position at best, because the person that's really in charge of our intelligence operations is the chief of the CIA. And that's a guy, John Ratcliffe. So even when he gave the woman the one cabinet job, he didn't give her anything of any substance or any real importance in the structure. And how about the rest? For Treasury, a man is being considered. Attorney General, 2 men are being considered. Commerce hasn't been picked yet. I don't know. Maybe that'll be Linda McMahon of World Wrestling fame. Maybe as a little bit of a bounty for having helped him in the presidential transition area. But the big four, defense, state, attorney general, and treasury, no women are going to be in those positions. None. All men. All men under Donald Trump. And bad men at that. And ones that we have to talk about having sex reports being issued by ethics committee, and then them having to skip town on a Friday and start their weekend early to avoid the pressure campaign. I got news for them. The pressure campaign on Legal AF, on Midas Touch Network, with our community and everywhere else continues. Use the weekend. Pick up the phone. Call and email your two senators. Tell them you oppose the Matt Gaetz and, as long as you're with it, Pete Hegseth, the Defense Department nominee. He's got apparently a sex assault charge investigated from 2017 in California. Oppose these people. Tell the senators opposed. Even if you have Republican senators, flood their offices with phone calls. They're easy to look up. Just Google it. So I'm going to continue to follow this fast-breaking story about the report and the Republicans helping to get our hands on it, the ones that are in the Senate, so that we can see it at the time of the confirmation. New Congress returns on January 3rd. I guess the only silver lining is it won't contain Matt Gaetz. His position will be filled by special election and by the governor of Florida. And then we move forward to the 20th. When Donald Trump starts getting those nominees, they can apparently start the process on the 3rd, even in advance of Donald Trump taking his oath of office, and get a head start. We'll be there. We'll be there in opposition. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.